Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. We are back from the Asia Oceanic Ultimate Championships. It has been a minute. So in this video, what I want to do is break down our first point, my very first point, against the Buzz Bullets in the opening showcase game of the Asia Oceanic Ultimate Championships. We're going to do this in a live format, so we're going to have no cuts, full live stream format. We're just going to go through my raw analysis, my raw thoughts, and we're going to show you how we were able to deliver the first break of the tournament against the Buzz Bullets. So with that being said, let's jump into the footage. We're going to break this down into two parts. We're first going to play through the whole defensive side of the point. Then we're going to break down the defensive things that I'm thinking about here. And then we're going to go through the offensive side and then we're going to break down the offensive side. But before we do it, here is a medal presentation. We're able to get the bronze medal at the event, which was very cool. And so I'm just going to wear it for the purpose of this video because why not? Awesome. With that being said, let's jump into it. I'm going to hit play so that you guys have some context on what's happening. And then we're going to go into our thoughts. Funnily enough, we did play the Buzz Bullets in a pre-tournament scrim, I think 2 or 3 days prior to this. So a lot of expectations, a lot of emotions and excitement going into this first game. So we're really pumped. Pull goes up. Levi, my teammate, number 44, throws a awesome pull. And I'm just going to let this play through, this first defensive part play through. Awesome. So that's the whole defensive side. We're going to save the offense for in a moment's time. But let's rewind and let's figure out exactly what the Buzz Bullets is doing here and how Levi here is actually able to do an incredible individual play and actually generate this block. So pull comes down. Awesome. Inside out kind of shape pull just in front of the end zone, exactly where we want it. Buzz Bullet comes out. So I'm going to go ahead and click mute here. They've got two handlers roughly behind the disc. They've got this kind of one player kind of acting as a decoy, kind of presenting deep early. But you can see the initial action that they go through here is a slash from the opposite side of the field. And so this is kind of a similar action to some of the other Japanese teams as well. A lot of them like initiating with this kind of handler player, kind of starting from in line with the disc or slightly positive, and they go for this slash across the field. To try and generate some forward momentum and then try connect with the cutters. So this is what they do here. They go ahead and deliver that slash. It looks like it's a bit of a set movement because this handler is anticipating it. And then this handler here is going to go for this kind of traditional Japanese style L-shaped cut where they start with the initial downfield movement. They start with presenting deep. And as this player catches it in power position, they stop and they kind of flare out for this L-shaped cut. So you can see that's exactly what happens here. Throw comes up. This Japanese defender or this Japanese offender, this cutter is anticipating it. They're pushing downfield. Once they get to the specific point where they're expecting the thrower is ready, they're flaring that cut out towards the sideline. Now, this is an awesome read by Levi here because what he notices is as he's running down, he notices this cut occurring. As he notices this cut occurring, his footwork is almost perfect. He changes direction. I don't know if you guys can see this, but I might slow this down for you guys. As he's chasing this, he's almost able to take that movement, see that right step with his foot, that one small movement where he's able to plant off his right, reacting to the movement of this Japanese defender, changing his path, means that he's close enough to be within bidding range of this pass. Now, he also knows that this is probably the window where the thrower is going to look to hit this throw. And so this gives him the ability or the confidence to be able to look over his left shoulder and to track the disc early. So this is a very important thing here, very minor, but very important. If he was staying with his eyes glued to his player, he would not see this disc coming. And this disc would have led out in front of him and he wouldn't be able to intercept this pass. But because he knows that this is the window where the throw is probably going to come up, His priority here is to find the disc to see if there's a block chance, to see if there's a block opportunity. And so this plus the footwork means that he's able to put himself in a prime spot to commit to this layup. So this piece of footwork here, coupled with the understanding that he has to check for the disc at this moment, means that he sees the disc early, means that he can then estimate where the disc is going to go. He can go and essentially go for the disc at this point in time. So he can leave his player because he knows that the disc is going to be arriving at a point where he can intercept and he can block it. So he goes for this layup block here, changes his line, stops following his player, right? His player's going this way. He takes this line directly towards the disc to intercept the disc. And this is very typical as well. If you guys ever play against Japanese teams, you'll notice that the Japanese, especially a team like the Buzz Bullets, like to throw their passes very directly towards their receiver. Not a lot of floats, not a lot of shape. They don't like to throw a lot into space. And so it's very typical that these throws are going to be within bidding range. And so this is a perfect opportunity, a perfect read on the type of team we're playing against and their style, because they like to throw fast, zippy, and direct. It gives us a window to intercept this pass immediately. So Levi, just from here, it's all about just making the play, and he does that to the T. Incredible layout bid here. Pushes the disc all the way towards the sideline. No chance for the offense at a second attempt. All right, so that's the defensive side done and dusted. We might play just once more so you guys can see what that looks like in the broader context of things. Pull comes up. Japan, or Buzz Bullets rather, like to go in this kind of loose downfield style. Slash comes across. This handler pushes downfield. Perfect footwork, perfect read, perfect vision by the defense. Levi, number 44. And we're able to get that turn. Awesome. From here, we're going to go into the offensive section. We're going to roll the entire clip. This is me, by the way, in that primary handler spot, or that primary reset spot. We're going to roll the whole clip, and then we'll also break it down after that. Also, if you're enjoying the content so far, if you're enjoying the analysis, I think it's good for the algorithm. If you care to help me out here, drop a like, drop a comment if you have any questions on that first half. Always helps with the algorithm. And of course, if you haven't already, subscribe. I think maybe 40% of my viewers aren't subscribed. So if you're enjoying the content, if you're enjoying the analysis, go ahead and click subscribe and hit the bell icon as well. Much appreciated. Just means that we can deliver this content to more people and more people can get better at ultimates. Awesome. So let's role play. I'm going to shut up now and I'm going to role play. You guys can watch the entire offensive point. We come out in this horizontal shape and I'll give you guys the context before we start kind of breaking it down afterwards. Upline cut for myself. This goes negative. Break side cut moves towards the break side of the field. And here we're falling into bit of a vertical stack. Cool. This is me with the continuation cut here. Barely towing the line. Swings back towards the middle. And I'd love to break down now. We'll break down in a second what's going through my mind during this point, during this offensive half. Disc on the flat side. Swings towards the open side. Here, setting up my cut. And we're able to get the first break of the tournament on our very first defensive point. Maybe our second defensive point. Second defensive point of the tournament. But our first break of the tournament, which is very sensational. And by the way, I think this moment right here, best feeling in Ultimate, is when you do something cool and your whole team lines up and high fives you. Best feeling. Anyways. All right, we're going to skip through that. Here's a close-up replay on everything that's happened. Close-up replay on the score as well. Me getting open on this inside cut. Awesome. So let's hit rewind. Let's break down this offensive section. And by the way, a lot of this is about the end zone. And so a lot of analysis that we're going to go through is kind of about the end zone and what I'm thinking about when I'm setting up this end zone cut. If you haven't already seen, I actually made a carousel post about this on my Instagram. So if you guys want to see this analysis in detail, go ahead and go to my Instagram, chuck us a follow there, but you can also see in detail what I'm thinking about in this moment in time. And I'm going to go through some of that here. I'm going to talk through about some of it here. But if you guys are curious about this analysis and more posts like this, check out the Instagram. Go ahead and give us a follow. There's always good content coming out there. Awesome. So let's hit rewind. Let's start from when we actually bring the disc in. So from here, we're coming out in a bit of a horizontal shape, a bit of a sideline kind of action here. Myself in that primary reset spot. All I'm trying to do here is kind of clear the space for my second handler to use, so we're able to get the disc off the sideline. It's really good here, I think, generally speaking, when we are bringing the disc in the sideline, and also when you guys are bringing the disc in the sideline, you guys should be thinking about trying to change the angle of attack immediately. Obviously, if we have an open player downfield, try and hit that. But it's always good to try and prioritize getting the disc off of the sideline so that more of the field is a threat. So when you guys are playing in your teams as well, always recommend prioritizing if the sideline option is available or if the swing option is available to try and take that, because when you're stuck pinned on this corner trying to attack all the areas in the field, it's quite difficult. So it's always good to try and get the disc back in the middle where everything becomes more of a threat. So this is what we're prioritizing here. To help support that, I provide an upline cut. We're opening up a big space. You can see only one player isolated around this reset space so that we can get the disc off of the sideline. And this is exactly what we do. We're able to get it off the sideline with a beautiful swing pass from my teammate number 29, Tyrone Symbol. And once again, Levi Yang, number 44, gets the disc towards the middle of the field, swings it towards the break side for Mark Wee here to get a nice continuation cut towards that break side. So now we kind of go negative one pass, we swing one pass, we're coming out of our horizontal shape, now we're folding into a vertical. Now, really important, something probably worth thinking about here for you, the viewer, is oftentimes when we go backwards, it can be a dangerous spot because sometimes the stack ends up being just a little bit too deep. So not within cutting range, not within shooting range. We want to have the stack such that whoever is initiating, whether that's the 1 or the 5 or the 3, whatever that is initiating from a spot that's actually threatening on the field, where the deep is a threat and the under is a threat. So what's going through my mind here is when the disc is swinging backwards and then further towards the side, once we're folding into this vert, we want to make sure that we're actually kind of still attached to the handlers. We don't want to be, we don't want to leave them isolated. We don't want to be too far away. Okay. If we are too far away, it means the defense will just be able to front us, knowing that the end zone is not really going to be a threat. But in these situations, in this condition, we kind of recognize that we're still able to generate an undercut from Charles Patterson here, Ulti-World Catch of the Year, by the way, ladies and gentlemen, 2024 Catch of the Year. And we end up being in a spot where the stack is in prime spot. Really nice depth here so that wherever we're attacking from, I mean, everything is a threat. Funnily enough, if I rewind just a second, you can see here, this Japanese player, number 8, kind of has a look towards this inside channel to try and provide some sort of poach or some poach opportunity or be in a spot where he can poach. This is actually not a bad spot to be in. I think if you guys find yourself in a position where your player swings the disc and you can see a cut coming through this inside channel, this is always a good kind of look, because sometimes these kind of inside cuts will flare out towards this open side and you can jump in front of that and the throwers kind of won't see you because you're in their blind spot. So I don't mind this move by number 8 here. But what happens here is he realizes that, well, Levi here does a very smart thing, kind of clears aggressively towards the end zone, which pulls this player out of the play. He kind of has to decide between 1 or 2. And so he ends up kind of not being able to help on this play, trying to catch up on this moment. Now, if I unmute, you can hear the sideline here. I think they say, Levi, go to the end zone, something like that. Levi, go, Levi, go. Okay, because right now he has a lot of separation going towards the end zone. It's actually a great opportunity. This Japanese defender now has to respect that option since his player is nowhere near him. And in this moment where they're trying to handle this switch, our teammate Tyrone here is able to get a big under towards the open side. Cool. Now, you might think, oh, this could be kind of a pick here. Well, I don't think so, because the Japanese team actually wants to take this switch, and so it's very difficult for this player here to call a pick, because in reality, like, he's not really marking this player here at this point. He has to fall off and mark our teammate Levi here. So I don't think it's grounds for a pick call, and we're able to get this under towards the open side. Now, this is an interesting part when we talk about cutting and timing and spacing, right? The disc moves positive very quickly, and you can see all of a sudden the stack ends up being a little bit shorter. So we're actually probably a little bit too short for where I want to ideally initiate from. You can think, if I were in the perfect position, well, I'd probably be around here, but that's just by virtue of, a result of the timings. So what that leaves me with here is I have to start presenting an option from this spot on the field, because I'm that next continuation cutter. My teammate here, Levi, is going to be clearing, so he's not going to be the active cutter. And so I can see that in my peripheral vision. I know that I need to be the next player that's presenting an option. So two options that I want to initially make here are either a cut towards this direct sideline or a cut towards the end zone. And so I don't have the liberty of jogging him out, taking all that time to set up in this ideal spot. I have to make that cut pretty much immediately. So you can see here, I'm gonna go ahead and click play. I start trying to close up that horizontal distance quickly. Now I can see here that the Japanese defender is ready for that if I were to move directly across. So I try to close up this distance quickly with those few hard steps. I take a small jab towards the end zone just to get him moving in that direction, to get him slightly off balance, to get his momentum slightly moving towards that back side of the field, just to give me enough space to go ahead and toe the line right on the sideline. So if I hit play here, you can see there's just enough space for me to toe this disc in the field. So again, if I were to rewind this, you can see this disc moving towards the open side. Here I have a timing. I realize I have to initiate quickly. A few hard steps, a little hesitation, a step towards that back field allows me to toe the disc right on this end zone, or right on this sideline here. Now it is very subtle, but these are the little timing, little cutting tactics that we're using here. Right, I know that I'm a little bit short. I'm not initiating from the ideal spot because I don't have the time to. So I need to start presenting this option early. Again, I can see the Japanese player is positioned in a way where he's ready to stop this. He's in an athletic position. His hips are faced this way. He's ready to run with me. So I put in this step with my left foot just to get him moving in that direction ever so slightly, so I can attack this space. And luckily the disc is in a spot where I can toe that in and bring the disc back in field. Awesome. From here, you can see my priority immediately is to try and get the disc back towards the middle of the field. Okay. Now, if I had someone here ready to initiate or ready to continue, then I'd probably look forward to see if I can hit some sort of scoring pass. But in my peripheral vision, I can see that if these people, or if these cutters were to develop a cut, it would probably take a few seconds for them to get in a spot where they're actually ready to present, unless they slash all the way immediately. But you can see the Japanese defenders are kind of ready for that. So a few options here. I could probably look for the hammer, maybe that's also viable. But really what I want to do here, again, is try get the disc back towards the middle of the field. I know that the spot where I am on, or where the spot where I'm at, is not the most threatening. So I look immediately back towards the middle of the field to try and change the angle of attack. And you can see my body language here is I'm in this backhand kind of stance. The mark here is not biting on that. He's kind of concerned about this inside space. And so we can easily, within kind of one or two stalls, stall one, stall two, get the back get the disc back towards the middle of the field. Okay, we're kind of folding back into this vertical stack again. We kind of get this bailout, not really a bailout, but we kind of get this continuation pass towards the flat side of the field. You can see here, there's a few end zone cuts here. It gets a little bit busy. And so this is kind of what we talk about end zone spacing. This is kind of what I want you guys to start thinking about here. The spot that I'm at is right now at the back of the stack. Now you can see here that I'm actually initiating, or I'm actually starting from a little bit too short. And so I can see that the end zone is getting a little bit busy. So I want to try and create the space that I eventually want to work with. So what I do here is, once I notice it gets a little bit busy, I take 3 to 4 or 5 intentional steps all the way towards the back of the end zone. This creates a longer vertical stack. It also creates a lot more space that we can work with on both sides of this vertical stack. It also means that I can see the entire field. And so once I'm in this 5 of the stack, I can see the entire field. I can see where the disc is going to move, and I can time my cut based off that. Now, I notice here, because I'm in that spot, I can see the disc is swinging towards this open side. And so I start getting a little bit shallower. I start moving towards the open side, getting ready to execute on my finishing cut. Now, as I'm starting to execute on this cut, I'm also looking at the thrower. I'm also looking at what's happening in the handler space. I can see and I can hear one of my teammates, Charles Patterson, Ulti World Catch of the Year, cutting up the line, and I can hear him calling for the disc. He says cow, cow, right? And so he's calling for the disc. He's calling Callum's name here. I can hear that. I can see him as well. And so this is where I hesitate on my cut, so that I can time my finishing move with the timing at which Charles catches the disc. So Charles catches the disc here, and then I'm able to hold off my cut and make that finishing move on the inside shoulder. Now I want to slow this down because there's a lot of detail here that I don't want you guys to miss. You can see here, I start with the move. The Japanese defender, his hips again are in a great spot to stop me if I go ahead and make this cut immediately, because he's just going to run alongside me, and that's going to be a tiny window for us to try and throw to. So what happens here? I do this hesitation move because I notice that we have a cut coming into this upline space. So there's no point for me to execute my cut as that's happening. I hesitate here so that you can see my hips dropping, me decelerating, so that I can time my cut with Charles catching the throw. Now, coincidentally, this hesitation, see that step behind, causes the Japanese player to flip his hips towards me. So this hesitation not only made the timing perfect, but it also messed up the defensive player's positioning. Now he's completely flipped his hips towards me, which gives me an opportunity to attack his inside shoulder here. Okay, so his hips are no longer in a position to be able to contest this pass or contest this cut if I go for it. And so ultimately, all I need to do here is attack his inside shoulder, go for the disc, and Charles throws it to a space where only I can get it. And euphoria, right? We end up scoring the first break of the tournament, and a full line of high fives for me on the way out. So let me just go ahead and replay that entire point, or that entire offensive sequence rather, so you guys can see what's happening here. From the very get-go, we're able to swing the disc back towards a threatening space on the field. We fold into this vertical stack. We make sure we're not at a depth that's too far away from the field. The disc moves towards the open side. A blown switch means that we can get this disc towards the open side as well. I have to initiate this cut pretty much immediately, right? Because of the timings. Bit of a hesitation step, bit of a jab step, so that I can open up the separation towards the sideline. Again, trying to get the disc towards the middle of the field. Disc moves towards that break side of the field. Again, we're recycling, see that the disc or see that the end zone is a bit busy, take a few steps back, start to initiate my cut, hold off on the cut, hesitate on the cut, causes the Japanese players' hips to flip here, and creates that inside window for me to execute on the cut and get that first break of the game against the Buzz Bullets at the Asia Oceanic Ultimate Championships. Awesome. Well, that's the video. Hope you guys enjoyed the breakdown. If you guys enjoyed this more live style analysis where there's less cutting, more genuine kind of reactions from myself, more genuine breakdowns of an entire point, let me know. More than happy to do more of these. But my request to you is if you do want to see more of this type of analysis, please leave a like, please leave a comment so that I know to do more of it. And as always, if you have any questions, leave them down in the comment section down below. If you're enjoying the content, if you want to see more of it, go ahead and follow me on the Instagram. It's Eric D at It's Eric D. I'll leave a link in the description down below as well. And as always, make sure to subscribe and hit the bell icon so that you're always up to date on the posts and videos that come out on this channel. All right, with that being said, I'll see you guys in the very next one. I'll leave some extra information in the description below in case you're after more content like this. And I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.